Once again, we are plagued by not having permission to play what I think is one of the greatest intro songs of all time. Thunder Love walked in through the door. So until the band gives me permission to play it, I can't sacrifice the money we could possibly make one Brett Barney on the Yeah Come On Show. Yeah Come On Show is brought to you by OxygenFinancial.com. Give those guys a call because right now it's the time to invest. Believe it or not, the market, he knows how to invest your money, and the market is up. Also, you've got Circle285.com. Give those guys a call because what they're going to do is they're going to quote you the best possible rate you can get. So if you've been with the same insurance company for a long time, maybe it's time to break away. Maybe it is. So get a quote from Circle285.com. And lastly, Dr. David Markwell of Ridgeline Counseling. I'm going to do my best to gather my thoughts. I've been drinking a little bit tonight. I've got my Jack Daniels. It's going to be a banner show because we have one of the funniest guests I could ever put on a show. That would be one Craig Gass. Craig Gass, you know him from the Howard Stern Show. You know him from Craig Gass, his own show, his comedy, his stand-up, his acting ability, if you didn't see him on Sex and the City. And tonight we're going to talk to him about a few subjects. We're going to find out what really goes on backstage of a Megadeth concert. We're also going to find out what it's like to live with Eddie Van Halen, the insights of the band. And we're going to talk about Tom Arnold and maybe a few things you didn't know about Tom. And maybe a little trouble Craig got into when he was here last year and appeared on our morning show, Bailey and Southside, during Super Bowl week, which is upon us right now. That all happens soon, but right now I want to go to Brett Barney, my co-host, because we've started two things on the Yeah Come On Show. We're now going to take your questions. We've got a phone line set up where you can ask us questions. We will air your question if we decide to, so know that. Secondly, we're doing a video. We're going to do what we call the best Yeah Come On video of the week, and we've got a good one this week. So, Brett, let's get on the phone number.
Okay, so the phone number, like we set this up last week, everybody knows it's the Yeah Come On Show phone number. You can text it or call it. I have not tried if you can actually text video to it or images. I probably should have, but I've been slacking. So, Steve, you can kick my ass later. That's on me. But it is 678-693-2269. That's 678-693-2269. That spells out 6786. Yeah, boy. As we've been saying,
yeah, boy.
You can also email us at yeahcomeonshow@gmail.com. That's yeahcomeonshow@gmail.com. Now, we actually did have somebody reach out to us because we've had several people, but one person did. And I was thinking, damn, this person's smart. The phone number is 678-693-2269, which is 6786 yeah, YEABOY, boy. So yeah, boy. I think yeah is like YEA is yeah, but they said technically, grammatically, YEA is yay. I thought YAY was yay.
You know what? Good question.
So
I say yay.
Boy? Is it six?
No, we're not yay boy.
Yay boy.
No, yay boy.
Yay boy.
Yay boy. First off, we're yeah, come on, which is YEAH. So I'm going to go yeah, boy. So I guess our phone number is a boy band in 1987. Before there were boy bands.
So that's it.
Yeah, boy.
There it is. 6786. Steve.
93-2269, which is yeah, boy.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'll roll with it. I can roll with that. And with that, that's our phone number. I dig it. We got a phone number. My God, we're getting big. Right now, I want to throw it to a video. The video that was sent in by me. It's Brooks learning to rock with Dad Dad. Jam.
Before we get started on anything, if you don't mind, because we were talking about true crime stuff before we started this interview, and I can actually point to an hour of Dateline that I watched as quite possibly the greatest hour of my life. I remember the hotel room I was in when I watched it, my jaw dropping. It's one of those things where every time they go to commercial, they go, "When we come back, guess who showed up? And he's like, oh, I got to get some chocolate milk and get ready. I got to run, get some chocolate milk and come back. And like, what happened? And the story was about a man who, this is mid to late 90s. This man is discovering the internet for the first time. He's an empty nester. I believe he was in his mid to late 50s, and he's an empty nester, and he's discovering the internet, and he's discovered these chat rooms. I think they were AOL chat rooms for whatever your interests are, and he started making friends on these chat rooms and made a friend who was a very attractive young girl, but he was not inappropriate with her at all. He just they just became friendly and no sexual anything to it. They just became friendly, but he did lie to her when she said, "How old are you?" And he said, "Oh, I'm 20." And
how old was he?
He was in his 50s. He was in his late 50s.
Oh, he looked damn good if she believed him.
Yeah. Well, no, because
he's a catfish.
His pic, his profile pic wasn't a picture of him, and he said I'm in the military, and he sent her a picture of himself when he was in the military, so she believed that was a current photo, and said that he had served in Iraq, and she said, well, what was that like? And he goes, oh, it's amazing. I love serving my country. And the truth was, he was discharged because he had a physical impairment. I can't remember what the physical impairment was, but he was actually cut from the military. He was
lack of confidence.
I don't know what it was what his physical
deformed penis.
That would have been a funny
deformed penis. I have a deformed penis. I must be let out of the military.
But this gave him an opportunity to pretend to be something he's always wanted to be, because despite his physical impairment, he always did want to serve his country. And so he starts talking to her about, oh man, I love serving my country, and I love being in the military. And so at one point, there's a moment where he leaves this chat history up, and his wife is in this workspace or something, and she pulls up to try to find something on the computer and sees this history of her husband. And again, there's nothing inappropriate going on, but he lied to her and said, I'm 20, and he's not being flirtatious with her at all. So his wife uploads a picture of the family and says, I just want you to know the gentleman you're talking to is actually the old guy in the picture in the middle. Which upset the girl, and the girl says, oh man, when the guy comes back in, she says, why'd you lie to me? And he says, I'm sorry, and she said, so who are you really? And he said, well, I'm in my 50s, I'm an empty nester, and I work at a warehouse, and there's a kid at the warehouse where I work at who's your age, and he was explaining to me about these chat rooms. And she starts asking questions about the guy that he works with and says, so who is this guy? What does he look like? And blah, blah, blah. And it upsets him so much that he tells her, you know what? Stop talking about that guy, okay? You have no idea how close he came to getting killed today. All I would have had to do was pull the trigger, and he'd be dead, all right? So shut your mouth. And the girl's like, whoa, hold on. You know what? Call my home number. This is my phone number. You need to talk to my mom. You can't talk to me like that. And he's like, I'm sorry. And she goes, no, you need to call this number right now. So he calls, and this older lady answers the phone and says, you don't talk to my daughter like that. I want you to leave her the hell alone. And he's like, I'm sorry, man. And she says, I don't care. You don't threaten my daughter. And that whole thing blows up, and it's over. And a few months go by, and this older guy is in the chat room when that young, pretty girl messages him and says, I'm really sorry about what happened there. And he says, I'm sorry too. And they start talking, and she says, the fact of the matter is, I was falling in love with you. And the guy says, you know what? I was falling in love with you too. Now they start flirting, and now they start ramping up and ramping up and ramping up. And then she tells him, hey, there's this cool thing on the internet called MySpace, where you can get your own page. And it's really kind of it's like a social media thing where you can have anything you want on your page. You can make it all your own, and you can have your own friends. And She says, look at my page. You'll get an idea of how to set your own page up. So he looks at her page. And remember, MySpace used to have your top 4 or top 8 friends?
Yep. Top 8, I think.
One of her top friends is the kid that he works with at the warehouse.
Oh.
What?
So he goes to work the next day, walks up behind the kid and shoots him in the head and kills him. And cops get involved. They find out it's all because of a chat that he had with a woman, a girl in another town, and the FBI gets involved, and the FBI in another state goes to the girl's house, knocks on the door. An older woman answers the door, and they said, hey, we got an issue. This gentleman I believe it was in Texas, killed somebody because of a chat that he had with your daughter. And the lady says, I know everything that happened because I'm the one who's been talking to him the whole time. And it turns out it's a 50-something-year-old woman in another state who is pretending to be her daughter.
Wow.
And she's created all these social media pages with sexy pictures of her daughter that she has taken, unbeknownst to her daughter. She would take candid photos of her daughter being sexy. Like her daughter, there was one photo where her daughter's in the backyard trying to pick up, they have a big dog that she was trying to pick up, and her underwear is coming out of her pants. And she took a picture of it, posted it, pretending to be her daughter, and said, what do you think, boys? And there's 200 comments from guys going, that's what I'm talking about. Show me some more of that. And she ended up flirting with all these guys all across the internet, pretending to be her daughter. She never went to jail. She didn't do anything illegal. She never said, kill that guy for me. She never said anything that led to this crime. And the guy's in jail. The mom, her daughter won't talk to her anymore. And she ended up writing a book about the dangers of the internet. Meanwhile, she is the danger of the internet. So,
dude, that's messed up. That's messed up. You had me in the beginning because I was like, how does a 50-year-old look 20? Because I thought they were in face-to-face. I'm like, that's a lot of Botox, man, and good coloring. But no, I would love to see the look on the dude's face when he realized it was a 50-year-old woman.
Yeah.
Oh, God. After he killed somebody. And that poor kid, man.
Yep.
What'd he do?
Yeah, the poor kid
showed up to work.
He showed up to work being younger and more handsome than he was, and just dealing with a guy whose insecurities were so deeply rooted that he needed to eliminate the younger, more handsome kid at work. I mean, it's crazy. It's bananas. But yeah, I love a good story, man. I love a good story.
That's good. You look like I know you're not at home because I can tell by the lamp behind you. So where are you staying tonight? What hotel and what city?
I'm in Northern California. I've been instead of flying to Tucson, where my mom and my sister live, for Christmas, I drove down to Tucson from Seattle, which is where I've been. I live in LA, but I've been staying as far away from LA as possible during this whole pandemic, and I've been staying up in Seattle with some friends. And I drove all the way down from Seattle to Tucson, and I'm driving all the way back. I stopped off in Vegas for a few weeks to take care of a friend who's sick.
Dude.
Whose time is short. And
gotcha.
And so I took care of anything he needed, and got him, mostly company. I just provided company, and we hung out and had some laughs for a few weeks. And so,
God bless you, man. I hope obviously the end is near for that guy, but I'm sorry you're having to go through something like that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later because you probably know who the person is. And
really?
Yeah, man, he's a great comedian who just didn't get the due that he was deserved. He's one of the greatest comedians I've ever seen, and I got a lot of free time. I'm not working, so I said, hey, man, let's hang out. What do you need? And more than anything, he wanted some company, and I want to learn as much as I can from him. So we hung out. Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. I've always been a fan of tragedy because of what it does to people. It's the harder you get punched in the face, and sometimes life will really. Can I curse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna say fuck or shit? Come on, Craig. I gotta know. I got to know.
I was going to combine them like when you're in elementary school and make it a
Shiffa.
Yeah, shitfa.
Shiffa. Yeah, well, I'll be honest with you, because we can, we go easy, you know. But dude, you can say anything you want, bro. We've done it. It's all good. I just don't try to like use the word like 12 times because I can in a minute.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
We've had some shows where we didn't go easy though.
Yeah.
John Rocker.
Well, I was going to say, I just, life will sometimes really fuck you up. And the harder you get punched in the face, the more clarity you can get on what's important. And in an instant, you realize what's petty and what's important. And so I'm a fan of those moments of pain that lead to a better appreciation for life. And, you know, I just, I don't even know what my point is in that. I'm just saying that when I know that a friend of mine is sick and he doesn't have much time, it's like, well, let me come hang out with you, man. You know, it's, it'll be great for both of us, man, because you won't feel lonely, and I would love to have your company while you're here. So
well, if my wife ever left me and my two kids didn't talk to me and I was dying and you're still alive, I'm calling you. I would need you at that point. And then I would just be laying there and I'd be like, Craig, just do Gene Simmons one more time.
I would be happy to do that, and I would also be the 100th person at your deathbed to go, what was Burt Reynolds like?
Yeah. I mean, you could look. This is a studio in the making. I've got the house that we bought. There's the 16th hole out my window, so I'm very happy to live on a golf course. But the basement was organized by a blind person, and rooms are in places where they don't need to be. It's carpeted. So I want to tear it all down, but, you know, my wife's like, it's last on the list. Your area's last. So I'm like, okay. So then I've got these empty walls, and I got all this stuff that I had framed, and my father-in-law was like, well, let's put it up. So, you know, I got Burt Reynolds pictures behind me. I got my signed stuff. I got, you know, guitars from, you know, crazy people. I mean, I got my Vince Neil, you know,
barber chair. I mean, who doesn't need a barber chair?
I got a barber chair. I got my Farrah Fawcett poster, you know, and then it's one of those things that I realized that I got to get all this stuff out, and I'm like, what the hell? I'll end up knocking down walls soon enough. So it's a little makeshift, but you're right. I've met a lot of famous people, as you have too, especially doing radio for 26 years, but Burt Reynolds was the number one. There's no doubt, the number one.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy how in radio you will get to meet tons of people who you love and admire, and sometimes they won't live up to the expectations. Yeah. Sometimes they do. The flip side of that is you'll meet a ton of people that you don't have any feelings about whatsoever, good or bad, that you just like, I know who that guy is, but I don't really have any kind of thoughts about him. And that person will be so awesome that you will defend them for the rest of your life, because you got to spend some time with them and see what a kind person that person was.
Well, you and I had a connection. That's what I was telling Brett. I'm like, you know, I want to get Craig on. I knew you were so busy, but I'm like, we had a moment, regardless of what morning show I've ever been on, whether it was, you know, the regular guys or Bailey and Southside, and the 96 Rock or the Rock 100.5 stuff. You know, you were always one of those dudes. I just love me some Craig Gass, and it's like, I love you, and I definitely love your voices and the personality you take on. Not a stern guy. One of the few guys in radio, just because he was never here, I never listened to him. And I really don't want to take anybody's style. And then I learned after years, after we've done horrible things like the Wolf Ball Bat Challenge, you know, with girls and all the nudity and the topless interns, I'm like, holy shit, we copied Opie and Anthony almost to a T. But again, I'm a radio guy in Atlanta. I'm not listening to them. So I've worked with guys that idolize Stern, Opie and Anthony, and different guys, but I knew that you'd worked with him, but, you know, I just never saw you on that show. I mean, you know, I saw you on Sex and the City, and I fell in love with you. I mean, I was like, you know, who doesn't want to be with Miranda? I mean, seriously. So, you know, your acting ability had me before your comedy, but you know, you've done so much, man. I mean, the fact that you could do those voices, the fact that you were almost Jackie on the show, that you were a guest star. I mean, Stern's only going for the best, and you were one of those guys. So I've always been impressed with your career, and I'm sure you got a million stories. You know.
Yeah, it started with Howard. I started calling in as well. I've always been able to do any voice that I hear because of how I grew up. My whole family is deaf. My mom, my dad, my sister, all completely deaf. And growing up in a deaf family, I couldn't learn how to talk for my family. I learned how to talk by copying all the voices I heard on TV. And I've always been able to mimic any kind of voice that I hear. And with Howard, I started out doing a really dark piece back in 1995. I started calling in when anyone that we could all agree on is not a nice person. Universally, we could all say, all right, Jeffrey Dahmer, not a nice person.
Well, I don't know. He lured those guys in. He had to have a little bit of charisma.
Is this where we go down the Hitler route at some point?
No.
Is this where we're going? Are we going the Hitler route? That's all my mind thinking. I was like, he's going to say Hitler. He's going to say Hitler.
No.
Well, hear me out. So,
by the way, Hitler, bad guy, bad personality, fantastic dresser. So, yeah. Great uniforms. Great uniforms.
So when Jeffrey Dahmer died, a guy like Jeffrey Dahmer, I'm on the air the next day, calling in as Sam Kinison, calling in live from the gates of hell with Jeffrey Dahmer, who just arrived in the afterlife, and it would be, hey guys, it's Sam Kinison, and I'm down here now, and Jeffrey Dahmer just got down here, and he's already looking at my ass like it's a T-bone. Oh! It was this really dark piece, and then I started doing more and more voices on the show, and then once I felt freedom and total autonomy on the show, I started coming up with random thoughts like, I don't want to just do the impression. What if we do the impression and do something fun with it? And then like I came up with an idea. Al Pacino had twins. And I said, wouldn't it be funny if we could have one of the babies on the show? And that became a regular segment where Howard would say, we're being joined by Al Pacino's baby. Al Pacino's baby. What do you like to do for fun? What do I like to do for fun? I like to pee. You like to pee? I love to pee. My mother, Beverly D'Angelo, whenever she changes my diapers, I give her a quick squirt right in the fucking face. Hoo! And she likes it because she's a whore. Yeah, the whole thing was really dark. So it was like take these impressions and put some weird spin on it, and then having no idea that my goal right now is to make the two of you laugh, and you never think about the fact that people are going to consume this and watch it.
Yeah.
And, so Howard's audience was so big that I didn't realize my life was changing while I was on the show, but my life was changing dramatically.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing I dig. I mean, you're funny with the voices, obviously, and you can go voice to voice to voice. But to me, because I've been able to be in the studio with you so many times, I dig Craig Gass. I dig you. The voices are like icing on the cake, but you yourself, funny, and I love. It's almost like you're like a B movie to the cable guy the way you grew up. It's like.
I don't know. I'm just realizing the last time I saw you, I don't know if you know this because it was happening in real time. So I don't know if you heard about the aftermath of this, but the last time I saw you, I got in trouble out there. I was there for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And I got in early, and all these, you guys are broadcasting live, a bunch of radio stations. It's the Super Bowl Media Center is loaded with mostly sports stations.
Yes.
Broadcasting from all over the country. And I got a ton of friends in radio who, when they saw me being in Atlanta and being at the media center, they said, hey, can you join us? Because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is dead. And so
it is.
My radio buddies would say, hey, man, can you join us as somebody famous so it sounds cool back in Boise? And I'd go, yeah, sure. And the only remotely sports voice I can do is Tom Arnold, who used to host the Best Damn Sports Show, period. So
yes.
I would join them at the beginning of the week and be Tom Arnold and talk about what Tom Arnold would talk about. And they'd say, so we're broadcasting live from the Super Bowl. We got Tom Arnold joining us right now. Tom, what's going on? Hey, guys, just having fun. Great to be in Atlanta for the Super Bowl, and a lot of celebrities are coming in. I was actually at a Cocaine Anonymous meeting last night with Brett Favre. I probably shouldn't say that out loud, but Brett's got a bad Coke problem, and his sponsor is Marv Albert. Marv's addicted to upskirt porn, and again, I shouldn't say that out loud, but Marv's always pumping off at work, and again, I shouldn't say that out loud, but he's got problems, and I just started rattling off random sports guys and attaching them to addictions and saying, I saw this guy at a Gamblers Anonymous, I saw this guy at a Narcotics Anonymous, I saw this guy at Alcoholics Anonymous, and Tom Arnold, while I was in Atlanta, started getting killed on Twitter by people who were like, hey, asshole, it's supposed to be anonymous. And Tom started fighting the internet.
Oh, no.
Tom
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Hey, did you notice that Sam Kinison was there, and that guy's been dead for 30 years, you fucking idiot. That guy's he's an impressionist. That's a comedian doing an impression of me. It wasn't me, you fucking idiot. And he fought everybody while I was in Atlanta. Yeah, man, I felt bad about that, because then, Tom sent me a note like, hey, man, why are you doing this to me, man? And I was like,
here's the... Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, no. I just want to say that I hosted for about 15 years all the Hooters contests, bikini contests in Georgia. And then the owner dug me, and he's like, I want you to do the international. So I would do them in Vegas or Miami. And I would do the night before. I wasn't the tuxedo guy that would go out and do the one that went and was filmed. I would do the night before where the girls wore a little more risque outfits. It was more for famous people. It was more for clients. And I'd usually have an audience of about 500, but I had the judges that were going to judge the whole thing there. Tom Arnold, a judge. Well, I've got these note cards, and somebody was bringing them up to me, and they all fell. Tom Arnold leaves his judge and comes up, I got you. And he's grabbing all my note cards and handing them to me. He's like, hey, this guy great. And I'm like, thanks, Tom. I really appreciate it. So afterwards, we're in the cafeteria where he's cutting through, where he doesn't have to be around all the people. And he's like, oh, man, what's going on? We got a party. And I'm like, he's red-faced, he's sweating, and I'm like, Tom, I don't want to have a heart attack with you tonight. I don't want to compete with the amount of railroad track lines you're going to lay out for me, I assume. Don't know for sure, just the way you're acting. And then I hook up with him in the bar, and I drank for like an hour with Tom, just hearing Roseanne, everything and anything, and it's like you start to talk and he cuts you off. And you're just like, whatever, Tom, do what you do. I'm enjoying hanging out with you. But he's a trip. I've never met anybody that, and I don't know whether it is a drug or is his own thing, but he is amped. I have
to give him credit. He pulled one of the coolest moves on me. I started in radio at a radio station called KISW in Seattle with Bob Rivers and Spike O'Neill. And when I was living up there, I'm starting out in comedy. I've only been doing comedy for like a year or two, when a comedian friend of mine who had a job at a hotel came to all of us at the open mic and said, hey, man, all those stars that are coming to town for the grand opening of the Planet Hollywood, they're all staying at my hotel. They're all staying at the Hilton. And I said, who's there? And he said, oh, man, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, Tom Arnold. And I was like, Tom Arnold's in your hotel? And he goes, yeah. Tom Arnold had just appeared in like True Lies and 9 months, killed it.
Killed True Lies. Yes.
So I called the hotel when I got home that night. I called the hotel, and I didn't record this. I did this for myself. I called up the Hilton, and I said, hi, Tom Arnold, please. And they said, one moment. And I hear the phone ringing, and I go, holy shit. And then I hear, hello. And I go, John, it's Sam Kinison. Sam had been dead for, I think, 5 or 6 years at this point. And Tom goes, hey, buddy, how are you?
Oh, God.
I go, Tom, listen, buddy, I'm in the afterlife. And I need some help, and I need you to assist me in the afterlife. He goes, tell me what you need me to do, Sam. I'm ready to help you out. And I go, awesome. I need you to get me some cocaine. And then this is really quick. So I need you to follow me. First of all, I need you to front me the cash, because I don't have any money.
And then what I need you to do is I need you to buy some cocaine. I need you to go back to Los Angeles, take the cocaine, and I need you to put it in the small pocket of Jerry Lewis's pants. And I'll have it when he gets here in 3 weeks. Oh! And then he went all the way down that premise. And I finally stopped and said, Tom, I'm sorry. My name's Craig Gass. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm a huge fan of yours. And he said, man, that's a good impression. That you want to know how good it is? I need to call my sponsor. That's how good it is.
Oh,
And do you have anything I could see? Do you have like a video or something I can watch? I said, yeah, I can bring one to the hotel. And he goes, yeah, leave it at the front desk and leave your information, and I'll check it out, and I'll give you a call. And a week later, he called me up and said, I love your comedy. I think you have a tremendous amount of talent. And if you ever need anything, here's my phone number. Here's my office number. If you need any advice, anything. And like a lot of people who give me their phone number, and I don't know if you do the same thing, I chicken out and go, oh man, I don't want to bother that guy. But I kept repeating the story. And the more I repeated the story, the more I got the voice down. And once I got the voice down, I used it for bad and not good. And but aren't you?
I didn't know you got in trouble, though, that Super Bowl. That's so funny because you came and talked with us several times. You were hanging out with us early, and we were having a field day with you. That sucks because I didn't get in trouble, but of all things, they put me on headline news. I've been on about 7 or 8 times, but Susan Hendricks. So I went over and did headline news, and they started asking me what I thought about the Super Bowl and what about the acts. And I'm like, I can't lie to you. These acts suck. Like, I need some rock and roll. Bring on AC/DC, and you'll make me happy. I don't need to see any more of these pop acts. Now, this year, The Weeknd, I can buy into some of The Weeknd. I like that one song. It's poppy. It's snappy. I like the commercial. But, I just don't dig a lot of those acts. I want some rock and roll. I want a badass Super Bowl with a rock band.
I agree with you, man. Sometimes I use that angle because I go to the Super Bowl every year. I usually do. I'm not going to go to Tampa because I like to interview the players in both teams. And I remember Super Bowl 50, they had I just drew a blank. The guy who was married to Gwyneth Paltrow. What's the name of that band?
Oh, God. Hold on.
What?
Brett, any help?
I'm thinking
Who?
Maroon 5 for some reason. Weren't they?
He wasn't married to Gwyneth, though. Brad Pitt dated Gwyneth, almost married her, but didn't. I don't know who married her. I'm trying to think who that was.
Right now who are watching this are screaming at their screens.
Yep. And I'm not even looking it up. See, here's the thing. I got the power to look things up and sound smart. I just as soon sync. I like going down in flames. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I didn't know.
I was going to say
Brett's
it was
looking it up.
Chris Martin.
Chris Martin?
From
married 2003, divorced 2016.
And what's Chris Martin's band?
Oh, now we got to go deeper into this.
Yeah.
Coldplay.
Thank you.
No wonder. Yeah. Listen to that
Coldplay.
shit.
So Coldplay played the Super Bowl halftime, Super Bowl 50, and that was in San Francisco. I love going up to all the players on both teams, the black players specifically, and saying, "Hey, man, Coldplay halftime show. Yeah. What's your favorite Coldplay song?" And all of them going, "Oh man, I love them all." They don't know a single Coldplay.
They have no idea.
Yeah, there was one guy on the Broncos, and the video is out there on YouTube. There was one guy on the Broncos who looked at me and said, "You know what? I'm actually half white, so I know the answer to this." And he started giving me names of songs, which was beautiful. Absolutely.
And the funny thing is 90% of the black guys you're talking to are married to white women that know. They just don't listen to what they listen to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
well, I wanted to I really wanted to have you on, and I want to talk to you. We got some questions we want to ask you. Also, I want to give you a cigarette break because I want to know what's going on. It's a segment where you just be shameless and be all that Craig Gass can be. But right now, we're going to toss it to a quick commercial for Ridgeline Counseling and Dr. David Markwell. Special thanks to OxygenFinancial.com for all your financial needs, whether you live in Georgia or not. And Circle285.com, because if you're paying too much in insurance, they're going to give you a quote with a brand spanking new company, one of those A companies, and lower your rates. Those are our sponsors of the Yeah Come On Show. I'm Southside Steve. That's Brett Barney, my co-host, and Craig Gass. We'll be back in a minute.
I'm David Markwell with Ridgeline Counseling. The current situation we're in is bringing all kinds of issues into our lives, everything from stress and anxiety to frustration, bouts of depression and loneliness. Well, we're here to help at Ridgeline Counseling. You can reach us at 770-993-9700, or you can email us at ridgelinecounseling@gmail.com. Currently, we're offering telemental services through video and phone platforms, and in a few weeks, we'll be transitioning back to in-person office visits. In the meantime, stay safe. We'll get through this. Yeah, come on.
We're back with my friend Craig Gass, and he is a friend. He's not just a guest. And I love this guy, and I'm glad he finally had time to come on the Yeah Come On show. Took a pandemic in a hotel room and a dying friend to get you on, and I'll take it all.
Absolutely.
And I meant that with all the love in the world. And the Yeah Come On show, one reason, I mean, you're huge. You have a hell of a following. And it's not like I'm trying to coattail on it, but maybe a little. So the Yeah Come On show, matter of fact, I always have Yeah Come On hats on hand. And they all match whatever outfit. Tonight I'm wearing a lovely gray and black, if you could tell. Show the crotch there. Yeah.
All right.
So got a gray and black Yeah Come On hat.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah Come On is a rally cry. It's not meant sexually, so don't get anybody excited or get it twisted. So it's just something in the South where it's like, yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Get you some. You know, like, you know what it's about. So
I don't know if your co-host knows that the thing that I loved about Steve, the first time I met him, and I know I've said this before, I have to say this again. And
yeah.
it's the reason why I wrote about Steve last year about, you travel, you meet people in every city you go to, and you make new friends. And a lot of it's kind of surface, it's like radio shows are always looking for content. Comedians are always looking for a platform to let people know about their shows. But when I got to Atlanta, the first time I got there, I was really heartbroken about a relationship that I was in. And I started to talk about it. I was trying to make some jokes about it on the air. And Steve could sniff out that this is real shit. And he started asking me about it off the air. And I'm looking at him, and I said, yeah, man, I can't figure it out, man. This is what's going on. And I'm telling him, like, I don't know what to do. Like, I can't leave. I love this woman, but we're having these problems. And I remember Steve going, yeah, come on. Let's hear about it. Oh, man. I'm like, yeah, man. I'm talking.
That's so cheesy, but it's true.
I'm talking to a stranger who really is connecting with me and is listening to me. And he stopped me and said, man, I feel you, man. Yeah, absolutely. You know what? Dude, it's like that 38 Special song. You got to hold on loosely, but you don't let go. And I was like, exactly. And I went, wait, what the fuck? What did I just did somebody just walk me into a Southern rock metaphor for my life? And I was like, what? Like, and I've been repeating that story for years to people all over the country. I was like, there's a guy on the air who I bonded with who somehow trapped me into a Southern rock metaphor, and I was totally in it, and I had to stop and go, wait, what the hell just happened? Like, and it was sincere, which is why I will always love Steve, and but it was hilarious, which is why I always love Steve.
Well, I always feel like I'm in a room in radio. It's like you got those dudes that just got their ass kicked or got teased or just didn't fit in. And then I'm kind of like the jock, normal, cool guy that can get laid that doesn't have a horrible face. And these dudes just don't get it. And I'm like, no, man, this guy's being for real. And you're a cool guy. No doubt you're a cool guy. There are a lot of messed up comics. You know that. But, we're all twisted in one way or the other. But I was listening to you, and that's all it was, because guys don't realize that's the only thing. That's my gift is counseling, because we counted how many girls I had sex with. It's over 400. I'm done. My wife was the last one. She's 419. I haven't touched or kissed a girl since. I've been married now. Just celebrated my 7-year anniversary. Been together 9 years. Got 2 kids now. I'm 55. I'm 55 with a 7-month-old. I'm holy shit. And I got a 3-year-old, so I'm working. But I can figure things out. And when you're in it, you don't. And I was like, Craig, you got everything in the world going for you. All you're doing is you're holding on a little too tight. But if you hold on a little loose, you world traveler, funny man, impressionist, this chick is going to dig you so much and want to be around you and be with you.
Yeah, we all go through life stuff, and it's interesting that not a lot of people, when people say, "Hey, how you doing?" Most people don't give a shit how you're actually doing.
No, they're asking a dumbass question, but yeah, I'm an idiot if I say I really want you to know. So if you're doing crappy, hopefully I've got 5 minutes and tell me how bad it is.
Yeah, which is why from that first time I met you, I just thought, man, this guy. Besides the fact that we also have a lot of the same interests, both love the same people, we both love the same
Sure.
music, and it's fascinating to hear where you're at in life, because I met you when you were still living the life, and the last time I saw you a couple years ago, you had one kid, not two, and I just can't help but think, like, how does your wife feel when you say I've slept with over 400 women? Like, does she
Well,
not want you-
if you remember the regular guys, we had a song. Somebody wrote a song that was well written. It had everything from what I enjoy, like what I'm drinking right now, Jack Daniels, and had all the stuff. It was so well written. I've got a copy of it. Maybe we'll get it on this podcast. But my father-in-law played that at our wedding. I was like, don't know that I would have done that, because I'm an Atlantic guy, but I'm a Southerner, and we lived downtown, and then we lived on the South Side. And if you live on the South Side in Atlanta, you don't tell girls that you went to high school on the South Side. You hide that, you lie, because you're in town. They're more of North Side girls. So the girl that has an El Camino, she'll talk to you, but the chick that's driving a 3 Series BMW will not. So you lie. So when I got named Southside on air, I was like, cut, we're not doing that. No, but it's really helped me. And now this is how bad, this is Halloween this year. There's the whole family, and my wife put this here. I mean, I've got other pictures, where my wife's terribly attractive and you can see her, but I have this picture here because I got suspended for 10 days during Christmas for saying something I guess I shouldn't have said on radio, a Michael Jackson joke. So my wife put this picture here. She goes, before you say something stupid on the radio, look at us. Look at our family and don't get fired. And I'm like, okay, so that's why the picture's here. But I'm all in on the family thing, and I would love to go into why I got suspended, but it's just a stupid one-liner and shit.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I always wonder about the person who complains. Like, even when you see like a sweet video of something really beautiful on YouTube, you can look through the comments and there's some asshole on there that,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's like, I don't like folk music. I just don't get it. I'm not a fan of folk music, but I wouldn't go to Bob Dylan's Facebook page and go, man, fuck you, you suck. I wouldn't waste my time going somewhere that doesn't make me happy and complaining about something. And if somebody says something, I mean, I grew up in a deaf family, and I learned to let jokes about my family roll off my back. Sometimes the jokes were pure ignorance and stupidity, but I realized that says more about you than it does about my family. And I wouldn't, and what's crazy is the most offensive and the most fucked up deaf jokes I have ever heard in my life were from deaf people. My last year, 2 years ago, I threw a surprise birthday party for my sister. And you can argue that everything to deaf people is a surprise, but I threw a surprise birthday party for my sister at dinner. Right? It's a joke. You laugh at it. I threw a surprise birthday party for my sister, and at dinner, my sister's sitting across the table from me. She's signing to me in sign language, and she goes, do you want to hear a good joke? And I said, sure. And then she said, me too. And I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So, and I tell that joke on stage now, and it kills. It absolutely kills. But yeah, that is. I learned early on that you should be able to laugh at everything, and then sometimes people will say something that you don't like, but all right, whatever. Move on. I mean, do words really hurt anybody?
No, and I said that today on the radio. I'm like, whatever happened to that? And maybe it's how old you are, how you grow up, and the sticks and stones break your bones, words don't hurt me. And they don't. You can have a thick skin about it. And, I don't mean 90% of what I say, and I'm not trying to hurt anybody. And if somebody in real life, if somebody would have touched my kid, a court of law wouldn't have to do it. I mean, a lot of people say they would. I don't know how you'd keep me off of them in jail. I don't know. I mean, in a jury trial, I don't know how I would not just go after that person and probably end up serving time. It's the worst, horrible thing in the world, but you've got to be able to joke about things and say silly, over the top things. And it's so over the top that I'm not serious, nor am I trying to offend anybody.
Right.
But it's a tough world out there, and we got to play by the rules, I guess, for right now. And, I mean no harm. I know you mean no harm, but your stand-up, that's hilarious. And
it's such a great platform for you because you have freedom here to be able to say and do whatever you want here, and there's no governing body, FCC, to oversee what you're doing here, and that's why podcasts like this are great.
They are. Do you, one thing I want to do right now, because I know a lot of your fans are watching, and it's really not about me, and poor Brett hadn't had to even ask a question yet, but he's standing by.
I'm just sitting here laughing, though. You guys are hilarious.
Well, yeah,
Craig had me crying earlier. I was wiping my eyes.
No, Craig is hilarious. There's no doubt about it. But one thing I want people to know what you're doing, and I'm sure you're doing other podcasts and things, on your own. But for the Yeah Come On fans, definitely for your Atlanta fans, and this isn't just about Atlanta; it's about anywhere. I hope other people enjoy it. You don't have to listen to my radio show to dig great guests or us. But what are you doing? Cigarette Break. Exactly. How can people follow you if anybody is seeing or hearing you for the first time? But where are you going to be? What are you doing? Just a few shameless plugs for a cigarette break right now.
Everything starts up in a couple of weeks in Hawaii for me. I'm doing my first comedy shows in a long time. We're doing some socially distanced comedy shows in Maui and on the Big Island, and then dates will continue to get posted. Everything's at getgas.com, getgas with 2 S's.com. You can see the links to Twitter and Instagram, which is at Craig Gass Comedy. And Instagram especially, I love posting pictures. Anytime I'm in a weird situation, I always try to document it. Like I was at a concert once, a Slayer Megadeth concert, and Long Beach Arena. Believe it or not, the guys in Slayer and Megadeth are huge comedy fans. And they hooked me up for the show. I go to the box office and I pick up an envelope that has my name on it. And there are tickets and all access passes inside the envelope. And I went, oh man, we got to go backstage and look at some devil shit. I just wonder what devil worshipers are doing backstage. Like, we got to go see what's going on.
Yeah.
Show. And there's nothing. It was just a bunch of trucks and equipment. And as we're walking through this loading dock area, this guy stopped me and said, Craig, you Craig the comedian, right? Hey, I'm sorry about it. I just want to say hello. I'm a big fan.
Awesome.
And he said, my name's Kenny. And I said, hey, Kenny, nice to meet you. And I stopped and went, are you Kenny G? And he said, yeah. And I go, what are you doing at a Slayer concert? And he goes, my kid's a big metalhead. And right at that moment, a Slayer fan pounced on Kenny G, like one of these hardcore denim jackets with patches on it, like, fuck yeah, fucking Slayer, I like the devil. And that, by the way, that's what all Slayer fans sound like. Ooh, that's, I don't know if I'm doing that right. Yeah, I sound like the Cookie Monster. Cookie. I don't know. I'll work on that. But the point is
good.
Yeah,
it's good.
So I want to fuck Kenny G Slayer. Yes. Yes. Have cookies with Kenny G at Metal Show. Yes.
Right, whatever. I'll work on that. But the point is, while Satan is talking to Kenny G, I'm looking over at my buddy and I hand him my camera phone and I go, dude, that's Kenny G. Just said hi to me. Take a picture, but make it look natural. Make it look natural. Hey, Kenny. Hey, what were you saying about And I'm trying to do like this is my casual. I'm just hanging out with Kenny G. Like,
hi, Kenny.
Yeah, like, and I'm in my mind. This is going to be a candid shot. Kenny G talking to me, but me looking at the camera like Kenny, like, and all I see is my friend with his camera phone going, or my camera phone going. Where do I push? What do I?
Dude!
And I'm like, come on, get like, and I'm trying to like keep this moment going so we can capture it.
when Dave Mustaine, the singer of Megadeth, walks behind me with a group of people, and I hear him say, "Are you guys leaving? All right. You want to say a prayer? All right, come on." And they form a Megadeth prayer circle behind me and Kenny G. And I'm looking at my friend going, "Take the fucking take the picture. Take the picture." And he got it, and it's on my Instagram at Craig.
That is awesome. Megadeth praying while you're posing with Kenny G at a
I'm
Megadeth
on
Slayer
Kenny G,
concert.
and there's a Megadeth prayer circle behind us. That will never
Awesome.
happen again in human history. At
No.
Craig Gas Comedy. 2 ways.
That is a moment. Oh my God, that's rock star. Here's one thing we like to do, Craig. Is Brett likes to fire off like 5 questions in 5 minutes. They're usually pretty good. I may or may not get involved, but he's going to come at you. So take it away, Brett.
Quick answers, right?
No,
Quick
you can do
as you
whatever
can.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want. I actually I was writing a few for Steve and you as I was going. But first off, I just want to make a few statements. I always took Tom Arnold more as a moxie guy and not a talent guy. So I'm amazed he said you were talented. I also love that you were like, "I'm going to be at Maui and the Big Island." Like I have any fucking idea what the difference is, to be honest. I'm from Atlanta. I've never made
You
it
got
out
to get out more, boy. You got to quit going to Panama City, Florida.
It's easier for me to go to Germany than it is for me to go to whatever Maui and the Big Island is. But all right, you may be the only person who can answer this. How can we make the Yeah Come On show the worst podcast ever?
What the fuck?
That's a reference to the comedy special that I put out called The Worst Comedy Show Ever.
I'm about to say, you've done that. You've done that.
Yeah, the worst comedy show ever was a concept that I had of all my comedian friends. They always film their comedy specials in really nice theaters with a really nice production. They want to look as good as possible. I wanted to film a comedy special in a shithole. And there's this bar that does comedy once a week in the middle of Washington State, in between Seattle and Tacoma, in a town called Milton, Washington, that was a dive bar that the stage had a microphone that was taped together. Only one of the 2 speakers worked. So you're doing a show in mono, not even in stereo. The curtains were like askew. They had a wall of fame that was just one headshot of a creepy looking guy that looked like a mugshot. Everything about the place was just wrong. And I just thought, how funny would it be to film a special there? And I did. And I had Mike McCready came out and made a cameo from Pearl Jam. I have a couple guys from Alice in Chains who made cameos on the CD version of the special. And to answer your question, how do you make it the worst podcast ever? I don't think you can. There's something about...
Oh, no, we can.
There's something about, yeah, come on, that is
Yeah.
understandable from the first time I heard it, that I think it's one of the catchiest phrases I've ever heard. And every time I think of Steve or I try to do an impression of Steve, that's the hook right there. Yeah. I mean, even when we were bonding over heartbreak that I was going through, he's like, "Yeah, man, yeah, come on. Let's hear about it. Come on, get it off your chest, man."
I'll give you, now there's about 20 Yeah Come Ons. I'll give you the quickie too. Sometimes you got to just look at somebody and go, "Yeah, come on." Just a quickie.
If you really
Real
want to
fast.
challenge Steve, you can throw any situation at Steve and he can give you the appropriate "yeah, come on" to that situation, actually.
Can I throw out a couple?
Yeah, rock and roll.
Feel free.
All right. Not entirely sure, but that might be a dead body in the corner.
Yeah, come on.
Dude, that was my girlfriend.
Yeah. Come on.
All right. And one more. Your drinking's getting a little out of control, buddy.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Woo! I thought you'd be drinking. Keep
I
it
love
going,
it.
Brett.
All right. Yeah, Brett.
All right, coming from a deaf family, I've actually been curious about this since the whole pandemic began, everyday life for people in the deaf community. And how has that been going for them, considering we all have to wear masks?
That is so funny that you say that, because I went to check on my mom early in the pandemic back in May, and we're all wearing masks, and we're all having a tough time understanding each other, because I need to see your mouth when you're signing, you know? And because my sign language, I spell almost everything out. So that is really perceptive that you say that, because
That was good.
and but deaf people do need to see your mouth when you're it's amazing that you even asked that question, but you're absolutely perceptive. And what's funny is, this is my mom and my sister. Like, I can understand them, more than anybody. And I was struggling because we're all wearing masks. I was like, wait, what? Can you spell it out? Like, I was like, hold on, wait. Because I usually watch their mouth while they're signing, and that helps me to understand them. And they couldn't understand me either, because my signing's terrible. I spell everything out. And, ever since I was a little kid, there were words that I got wrong. My mom never corrected me. And when my mom's friends would come over, they'd look at me and they would sign to my mom and go, what is he saying? It doesn't make any sense. And my mom would say, I know, but it's so cute. And she's like, my dumb little dipshit son is just trying to figure out how to communicate. And
That's awesome.
yeah. So, but man, that's very perceptive. Yeah. Deaf people have definitely had a struggle in being able to communicate with people. And I've always found that a lot of deaf people, if they'll usually just give me a pen and paper and they'll just write it down. Like, hey, this is what I'm trying to say to you. And then you write back and forth. But it is a struggle.
But they will point at words and say, I don't know what that word means. Because I've actually done that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very perceptive, man, and a good question.
Oh, trust me. I've been thinking about it, because you watch the governor speak on TV and the guy's doing sign language. I'm sitting there going, why is this guy doing sign language on TV? Because I would just turn, the auto text on and just read what it was if I was deaf.
I think about that a lot too. And what's interesting is the people who do the captions, sometimes if the person
they mess up.
Or they don't put all the words in, and the interpreters also won't put all the words in either. And sometimes there's some key information, especially in a pandemic, where you need everybody on the same page. So my guess is they're reading the caption while also looking at the guy doing the sign language.
Okay, I'm going to go faster. You lived with Eddie Van Halen. How did you find out that he died? And what was the first story you thought of that made you laugh after hearing about his death?
I woke up, it's interesting because another roommate of mine, I had a similar kind of thing where I used to live with a comedian named Mitch Hedberg. And I remember somebody telling me, my buddy Mark called me up. It was like 12:30 at night in Los Angeles, 3:30 in the morning, New York. And my buddy Mark Rigodano, who's a comedian, he calls me and I pick up the phone like, what the hell are you calling me this late for? And he goes, hey, dude, what's going on? And I said, not much. It sounds like he's in a bar. And he goes, I was wondering if you could help me settle a rumor. And I said, all right, what's the rumor? And he goes, oh, man, a bunch of comics are saying that, and I don't know if it's true, but there's a rumor going around that supposedly Mitch Hedberg, and as soon as he said Mitch Hedberg, my heart started to sink because I knew what the last word was going to be.
Oh, no.
I immediately called his phone and called his phone and called his phone. And then I think about 2:30 in the morning, Lynn picked up the phone and said, hello. And I said, oh my God, Lynn, it's Craig Gass. I'm sorry. I don't know what time it is where you're at. I heard a bunch of stories. I just want to make sure you guys are okay. You're okay though, right? Everybody's okay, right? Right? And she goes, no, it's true. It's gone. And I went, oh. And I woke up from a nap on that day in October. And I had been trying to call Ed over the summer to check in on him because I'd heard that he was sick. And I got a text that said, sorry to hear about Eddie. And I was like, oh. And then I opened up my computer and it's all over the news. And it was like, shit. And then I sent a message to Howard because when I was living at Ed's house, Ed asked me to connect to Howard. He said, hey, he always had a cigarette. He was like, hey, I want to talk to Howard. Give me his number. And I was like, let me make sure Howard's okay with it. So I called Howard and I got his voicemail and I said, hey man, it's kind of a long story, but I'm living at Eddie Van Halen's house and he said he wants to get in touch with you. So I just want to make sure it's okay. So call me or text me and let me know. And he sent me a text and said, that's fine. Give him my number. And I was like, all right. So Ed started calling Howard and then they got in touch. Funniest stories. There's a lot of them. when I was living I lived in the recording studio, the 5150 studios, from January till April, and around February, his brother started showing up, and his brother Alex was a fantastic storyteller, and I always remember the stories of his going on the road in the early days. Alex and Ed. Sorry, this is a long-winded answer, but
Love it.
Alex and Eddie apparently had two best friends who were also brothers. Eddie's best friend killed himself in high school. That was the younger brother of this guy. That was Alex's best friend. And Alex's best friend, they used to smoke pot, listen to music, and talk about these dreams they had of opening up for the Stones someday. We're gonna go on tour with the Rolling Stones, man. We're gonna do it. We're gonna get a band, and then he actually got a band together. They started playing original music, and they called themselves Van Halen. And in the middle of that Van Halen 1 tour, they got an offer to open for the Rolling Stones one night. It might have been 2 nights, but I know one night was at the Superdome in New Orleans. So they fly into New Orleans the day before the show, and they just get hammered in the French Quarter. And Alex said they used to do this thing. It was this, they were all goofballs, and they used to do this thing where a few of the guys in the band and the crew would walk up to a wall and slam their face against it. And as they do it, they hit it with their hand, so it makes a sound, makes a thump, and they go, oh, ah, like, you know. And it was like a Three Stooges thing. Yeah. His buddy, who's now touring with him as his drum tech, his best friend is now his drum tech. He gets shit-faced, and I guess he's a little off. He walks up to a lamppost in the French Quarter and just slams his face right into the light post, and his blood shoots right out of his nose. His eye starts puffing up, and the next day at the Superdome, he can't see. His eyes are sealed shut from 2 giant black eyes. And so he's wearing sunglasses, and he's sitting behind the drum kit, and he can't fucking see. And the band is on stage rehearsing. They're doing a sound check when Mick Jagger decides he wants to say hello to this new band called Van Halen. And the band freaks out. They're like, hey, man, I'm Alex. This is Michael. This is Eddie. This is our singer, Dave. And Mick Jagger's, you know, he's the elder statesman saying hello to all the guys. And Alex goes, hey, Mick, my best friend and I used to listen to you all the time growing up. And we used to always say that our dream was to be on tour with the Rolling Stones. And Mick goes, well, looks like you did it. And he goes, do you mind? He's my drum tech now. And he goes, yeah, sure. And he goes, hey, get over here. And his drum tech is standing there, and he's in a prone position. And Mick walks over, and he goes, hello, I'm Mick. How are you? And the guy's standing there going, hey, where you at? All right, where over here? Are you over here? And Mick just looked at him and just went, this is your drum tech? He thought he brought a fucking blind guy.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, and there's a lot of funny stories about living at Eddie Van Halen's house, but when you ask me what did I think about, what was the first thing that made me laugh, I just started thinking about, I started talking to other people in that Van Halen world, and I remember that story, and that story made me laugh. I mean, they just, you could not have, it was interesting. He was one of the most famous people on the planet, but also an incredibly down-to-earth person who didn't feel comfortable with the mega fame that was his life. And at their core, they were just a couple of goofball guys. They were and his brother, greatest sense of humor, greatest storyteller. So that's the first thing I thought of. Sorry.
I'm glad you shared that, because, you know, I there was one shot where I was supposed to go backstage and I didn't. I'm a huge Sammy Hagar fan, so I'm a more Van Hagar than Van Halen dude. Just David Lee Roth had his moment, but, you know, past shrieking and doing karate kicks, I just thought Sammy had it going on a little bit more. Yep. For me, which is sacrilege to a lot of people older than me. But, you know, you hear these stories. So I'm glad you said that, because every time I see Alex, I'm like, man, is he just angry all the time? The dude doesn't smile. He just looks angry. And then you see Michael Anthony on the road with Sammy. You're like, I get kicking him out of the band, I guess, because, you know, you want to get your son in. And Bailey and Southside on Rock 100.5, we did interview Wolfgang. It was a great interview. Didn't go too deep, but the one question I wanted to ask, and maybe you'd know, was Eddie the tougher guy or Alex to deal with? Did Eddie just have like anger issues when he got drunk, or who was the tougher one to deal with? Because it looks like it'd be Alex. Because you wonder why these guys leave the band and why nothing works. You're like, what's going on? Who's the hardcore guy in the band? Who's the tough one?
Well, that's an interesting. In general, Alex is the more protective one. Ed was so open that, like, I know a radio show in the Quad Cities who got a hold of a phone number for the studios back there, and they would call regularly before their shift started at like 3 o'clock. No, I'm sorry, 5 o'clock in the morning, Quad Cities time, like Iowa time, 3 a.m. Los Angeles time. And every once in a while, Ed would pick up the phone at the 5150 studios, and they would say, "Hey, we're blah, 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 rock station in the Quad Cities." And he'd go, "Hey, what's going on?" And he would just talk.
See?
He would just
and I want to hear that. That's fantastic, man.
They put a compilation of those conversations online when Ed passed. And Alex was more protective and also, without question, more business-minded. I noticed that when Alex started showing up at the house, that I was working on a TV show at the time called Las Vegas, and which is a weird time in my life because the TV show Las Vegas I did with James Caan and Alec Baldwin. Alec Baldwin was my partner on the show. So all day long, I'm telling jokes to James Caan and Alec Baldwin, and then every night I come home, and Ed would be in the next room, recording, playing, and I knock on his door and say, "Hey, man, I just got home. Do you mind if I listen for a little bit before I go to bed?" And every night he'd go, "Dude, I'm fucking lonely. Come on in." And I'd listen to Eddie Van Halen play guitar, but I did hear a story that when Ed beat cancer the first time, that he, with his newfound lease on life, he wanted to take charge of his life because everyone in his life had been a type A personality. Dave was a very type A personality, and apparently their original manager, Ed Leffler, was also a type A personality.
Couldn't tell you.
And Eddie, according to what I was being told, would be submissive to these strong personalities in his life. And when he beat cancer, it was told to me that he was going to take charge of everything. And if you don't like it, fuck you. And so he kind of overcorrected.
Got it.
This is what's going to happen. And if you don't like it, go fuck yourself. And this is what's going to happen. And he was saying it to people who were working with him. And they were like, "Oh, but no, fuck you if you don't like it." And he just, that was how it was explained to me, that he was like, and one of those things, I got to say, I was in agreement with Ed about, and that was that he split all the money 4 ways when he was writing everything.
And now that's awesome because you don't always hear that. Matter of fact, bands that I know, it's not the case. I mean, you think it's split up, but it's not. It's the guy writing it's taking the buck. So for him to do that, that's huge. I mean, one of them's family. Then the next thing you know, 2 of them are family. But it's pretty awesome. It's pretty open. I got nothing but great stories, with bands that open for him, like Collective Soul. They love him. They say he's the most generous guy in the world.
Yeah, and I love those guys at Collective Soul too. And but Eddie seemed to be the warmer, more easygoing guy. But when he had the first bout of cancer, he definitely said, "All right, well, some things need to change." And I mean, I always had questions about, like, why was he so? I don't know why he was that way with Michael. I don't understand it. Like when I was living at the house, I was living in the recording studio. Anytime they were working on an album at the time, which was a best of album that featured 2 brand new tracks with Sammy. And anytime Sammy or Michael came over, I wasn't allowed to be around. I would just get a text like, "Hey, Michael's on his way," or "Sammy's on his way." And I would have to go down the hill and just hang out in the guest house. And I would sit in the guest house until I was given the all clear to go back. And then I'd go back up.
Wow.
Again. I was told that it was because there was just too much tension and they didn't want people around all that tension. So it's like, all right, cool. So
Damn.
in fact, they hired a couple of kids that to document this reunion taking place at 5150, and it was decided early on that nobody should see what's going on because everything they captured was so toxic
Damn.
and so hostile that it was like nobody should ever see this. So they shelved it, and so it never saw the light of day. But it was
that's a shame.
Yeah.
Because I did a thing where me and a listener and then somebody else in the station, we go out to Beverly Hills, and this is early on in my career, but it was after Van Halen had split and he was doing his Mas Tequila stuff or whatever. So we're at the Hard Rock in Beverly Hills, and we're staying across the street. And Sammy does his deal. Only does about 7 songs. He's got a whole new band. He's got the real cool chick bass player, and he gets done. Man, he comes up to the bar, and I'm about 2 dudes down, and one of the guys, I guess, was like working there and had to leave to go do something. So next thing you know, I'm next to Sammy, and he goes, "You want some tequila, bro?" I'm like, "Yeah." So I end up doing not 1 but 2 shots of his tequila with him and about 5 other dudes. I'm like, click, click, bro. I'm drinking with Sammy. Oh my God.
Awesome. That is awesome.
But it was just so cool. But I'm just such a fan. And you look at Mike Anthony, you're like, all right, those 2 dudes look like they're laid back and cool as hell. So who's being the butthole in the band? Because how do you not be friends with Sammy and Michael? How?
Yeah,
They're great.
I understood. I mean, I heard some of Ed's complaints. You know, he would say things to me that'd be like, all right, like, you know, I don't know, but there was some kind of history there, and I've asked people who are really close to the situation, like, why was it like that? It didn't make any sense. It seemed like those guys were such nice guys. And I remember early on in that tour they did, I ended up in they did a show, I think, at Mandalay Bay, and somebody walked me into Sammy's dressing room, and it's like, has Sammy ever heard your impressions? And I go, no, oh man, we gotta get you in here. Sam, hey, this is Craig. And I go, hey, and Sammy goes, hey, how are you? And I go, yeah, man, I'm a stand-up comedian. And he goes, oh, okay. And the guy goes, he lives at Ed's house. And then Sammy just shut down on me. And I was like,
damn.
And the guy goes, here, do your impressions. And while I'm doing my impressions, he's just looking away. He's not even looking at me. And I was like, wow, it got really cold. And I was like, I mean, dude, that tour
Wow.
had 2 tour managers. There was a tour manager for Ed and Al and a tour manager for Sammy and Mike. And a couple weeks into that tour, Ed said, I don't even want to be on the same fucking plane as those guys. So they got 2 private planes to fly Ed and Al and Sammy and Mike. They wouldn't even be on the same plane together. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to why that.
Yeah, and then we all know the David stuff, and he gets a little over the top at times. He's just flamboyant, cool dude. It worked for him with the long hair. It just doesn't work for him with the ball cap as much.
Yeah, Dave.
He's a little too Vegas right now. I'm like, all right, Dave, come on, babe, come back to us.
Dave brought his own set of issues with him. I know a guy who is a friend who worked in that Van Halen circle for a while. He also did the Dave Sammy tour, and he had this phenomenal moment where early in the tour, Dave called him in the middle of the night and said, "This hotel sucks. Let's get everybody the fuck out of here." And he goes, it's 2:00 in the morning. He goes, "I don't give a shit. I want to get out of this fucking shithole." So they're on the East Coast. The guy calls Dave's manager, who's in Los Angeles. It's 11:00 at night in Los Angeles, and he goes, "Hey man, Dave wants to get a brand new hotel. I don't know we got 15 rooms here." And the guy goes, "Oh, don't worry about it. Just call the bus driver. He'll know what to do. Load everybody up." And they've done this routine. They know what to do.
Damn.
Get this. This is the routine. Everybody packs their shit up. They all come downstairs. They load up the bus. The bus driver drives for 45 minutes. Comes through a separate entrance to the same hotel.
I love it.
Dave gets out and goes, "Now this is more like it." And then and they all go back to the rooms they left, and everybody goes back to bed.
Dave just don't know.
Dave gets a brand new room. Yeah. Dave gets a brand new room. Yep.
Everybody else goes back to the rooms. Dave gets a room. That's great. Doesn't cost the tour that much. That's fantastic. We won't even get into the Van Halen 3 stuff. I don't think there's a discussion that needs to be had there. We'll let that go.
Yeah, and I'm
unless you dug it at all.
I never got into the Van Halen 3 stuff. I think Gary Sharon's a phenomenal singer, but I never got into Van Halen 3 stuff. And I feel bad, but I have about 10 minutes left before I have to jump off. And I'm really enjoying this conversation.
Well, we've gone too far. Do you have a couple? You have one more good one to finish off? We got to let this man go.
The last two that I had written down, have you ever turned down a gig that you regret? Or has anyone ever said that you kind of look like Garth Brooks pre-inauguration?
Jeez.
Those were the last two I had written.
I did not see that one coming.
I mean, he looked like shit at the inauguration, but you look like Garth Brooks when he was on that Netflix documentary or whatever years ago.
I can't even imagine being in that guy's band. There's a moment at the beginning of it where he addresses everybody on stage at this mega dome in St. Louis, and he says, I don't know if y'all were planning on having fun on this tour. This is going to be the worst goddamn tour you've ever been on. And everyone's like, oh, all right, welcome to the tour. And it's like, it's actually become it would be horrible name dropping, but it's become a new impression that I do with Corey Taylor and his wife, where I'll send them like video emojis of, I understand that it's your birthday. And I guess I forgot it. And it's because of my dad. That's my Garth impression. And to answer your question of have I ever regretted turning down a gig? No, because there are gigs that I have taken that I know are gonna suck, and I take them for the story, and because it's like this is gonna
that's awesome.
But I'm gonna get a good story out of it. A perfect example: about 5-6 years ago, a buddy of mine, Josh Wolf, a really great comedian.
Love Josh. He's a hot mess.
Great comedian. Josh Wolf called me up and said, hey man, what are you doing, a week from now? And I said, I don't know, why? He said, we had somebody back out of an event at the Playboy Mansion. And I was like, no shit. And he said, but I'm going to give you a heads up. It's a horrible gig. All right. It's a bunch of guys with deep pockets, and they don't care about the entertainment. They really don't. And everybody who's done it has bombed. Jeff Ross did it. He bombed. Sarah Silverman did it. She bombed. Artie Lang did it. He bombed. Artie Lang very famously talked about that gig. And when he told me it was going to be a bad gig at the Playboy Mansion, I was like, I'm in. Because if I'm going to bomb at the Playboy Mansion, that's going to be a great story. And I did. I bombed, and I found out the reason why is because they actually bring in prostitutes into this party. And the men are just... they have to wait for the entertainment to get done before they can get to the prostitutes. So they don't care about you. And I did it for the story. And nobody gave a shit about me. I remember going to a table and sulking afterwards. I mean, I ate it. Dude, my introduction to the event was, I didn't even know that this is who I was replacing. They go, all right, you guys ready for some comedy? And there's a mixed reaction. They go, by the way, I don't know if you guys heard, Don Rickles, wasn't able to make it tonight. Boo! But we got this other guy, Craig Gass. That was my intro. We got this other guy, Craig Gass. I walk out.
Damn.
There's nobody. I might as well have been doing spoken word. I'm just talking. Nobody's reacting to me. I remember sulking at my table afterwards, like, man, what the fuck was that? When Ron Jeremy showed up with 2 plates full of food going, they're giving away food. It's tons of food. It's free food. Go get the free food. And I was like, Ron, I don't give a shit about the free food, man. I'm fucking, I got hurt up there, But yeah.
Ron is such a mess. That dude has not hit me once, but twice with his penis. I'm like, quit hitting me with your penis, Ron. The first time he came into the studio back in the day when we were on 96 Rock with the regular guys, I guess somebody had talked to him and said, walk in and hit Steve with your penis. He walked straight in and just hit me with his penis. I'm like, damn. I've never been hit with a penis before. I was like, okay. It was Ron Jeremy's. I guess that was all right. I don't know.
Dude, I'd love to rejoin you guys again, and
We'd love to have you on.
and
Love
do
to.
it or whatever the next time I come back to Atlanta is. So
Yeah, we hope to see you in Atlanta soon. I want to thank you, Craig Gass, for being on the Yeah Come On show. Both Brett and I, you're obviously fans of your work, but I love you. I think you're one of my favorite people, especially to come into a studio. Don't see you enough, that's for damn sure. I just want to ask one last thing as you go out. I just want to know what Gene and Paul think. That's all. I just want to know what they think. I just want to hear from the greatest rock and roll band of all time.
Well, you know, the great thing about being in KISS is you get to be on every podcast you want to be on.
Yeah.
That's right. But it's a new world now. And right now, you have to be safe. You have to sanitize, which is why KISS is broadcasting from a real live wet market in Wuhan, China right now. Go to kissonline.com and get your hand sanitizer, your gloves, your mask. We're selling pills of what's it called? Whatever it is, it's $48.
Paul knows.
Whatever it is, it's $48 at kissonline.com. Click on my codpiece and we'll take you to a live webcam from Wuhan, China, and get all of your hydroxychloroquine needs right now at kissonline.com, because who knows more about living in a wet market than Gene Simmons from KISS? Boom.
Thank you, Craig Gass. Nothing but love. Wish you the best. And I'm glad you're about to be busting out of your bubble and headed to Hawaii, my brother.
yeah, man, me too, man. And I cannot overestimate enough how much it meant to me that as a stranger, you reached out to me the way that you did. It was very sincere and it meant a lot to me. And this was a lot of fun, man. I didn't expect to just see that. I didn't realize how so much time had passed. I was enjoying the conversations for this entire time. I could have done it for another hour and a half. I have another call I got to jump on. So
No, and here's the problem. I wanted to do a 45-minute, but again, you got on and we've done God knows how much time. So nothing but love. Take care. Craig Gass, everybody on the